The city of Solara knew Darian Cole as the one man you never crossed. At just 30, he had built a reputation as a ruthless but brilliant tycoon, turning his father's fractured mining inheritance into a glittering empire of diamonds, gold, and luxury pieces that commanded kings and underworld bosses alike. His face appeared on magazine covers across West Africa, his name whispered in boardrooms and back alleys. Women desired him, men feared him, rivals despised him. Yet no one truly knew him, and that was precisely the way he wanted it. Behind the sharp suits and ice-cold eyes was a boy scarred by loss. His mother, Helena, had died young after a brutal fight with cancer, leaving behind a single promise whispered into his ear. No matter what happens, I'll always be here. But she wasn't. His father drowned himself in affairs and corporate battles, abandoning Darian to a mansion of chandeliers and imported furniture but no love. His childhood was sterile, no bedtime embraces, no warmth, only silence padded by wealth. By 22, he inherited part of his father's empire. By 25, he had doubled it. By 30, he had everything except a legacy. Not the kind measured in property or fortune, but in blood, someone to carry his name forward. Marriage was out of the question. To him, emotions were traps. Women never saw his wounds, only his wealth. So he designed a solution devoid of risk, a surrogate. A child without the messy chains of romance. Lawyers drafted the contracts, cold, clinical, and merciless. The chosen woman would undergo medical checks, be compensated generously, and vanish after the birth. No bonds, no complications. His interviews were brutal, his presence concealed behind a two-way mirror at the top floor of his Solara headquarters. Women filed in, all eager, all masked with hope and greed. He studied them with arms folded, his gaze slicing through rehearsed sob stories and painted faces. Then she walked in. Myra Solis, 24, tired eyes yet dignified, fragile yet resolute. She wasn't glamorous, she was real, marked by sleepless nights in hospital corridors. When asked why she wanted to be a surrogate, her answer was raw. My mother has breast cancer. We've tried everything. I need money for her treatment. Something cracked in Darian's fortress of a heart. He tapped the glass, his silent signal. She was chosen. Within days, Helena Solis was moved to one of the best hospitals in the region, specialists flown in from abroad. Myra never knew who paid the bills, only that an anonymous benefactor had fulfilled his promise. Her gratitude, though quiet, stirred something dormant in Darian, an unfamiliar warmth. The IVF worked on the first try. But fate struck cruelly. Just weeks later, Myra's mother died from complications. Darian received the call at midnight. Soon after, his staff reported Myra had stopped eating, drifting toward depression. He wasn't worried about contracts then. He was worried about her and the child. A new decision formed. He would live beside her, not as Darian Cole the Mogul, but as someone simpler. He abandoned tailored suits for sneakers, drove modest cars, and moved into a quiet home next to hers under a new name, Darius, the neighbor. One sunny afternoon, he stood at her doorstep with a basket of oranges. Myra opened the door, her eyes red and swollen. Yes, she asked warily. Hi, he said with an easy smile. Just moved in next door. Thought I'd say hello. I'm Darius. And so began a bond neither of them saw coming. Myra had never known comfort like the kind her new neighbor offered. She was a woman drowning in grief, carrying a stranger's child, bound by a contract that once seemed like salvation but now felt like a sentence. Her home, once filled with lavender oil and prayer, was now silent. Then came Darius, the neighbor who knocked with herbal tea when she couldn't sleep, or soup when cravings kept her restless. He wasn't imposing. He didn't flirt. He simply listened. Myra found herself opening up, about her late mother, about childhood memories, about fears she never voiced aloud. Darius rarely asked questions. He just nodded, offering presence without pressure. What started as a mask for Darian, to observe the surrogate without her knowing, slowly transformed into something real. Her quiet resilience disarmed him. She didn't dramatize her pain, even her sadness carried dignity. He told himself his presence was only for the baby, his heir. Yet, with every passing day, admiration turned into something more dangerous, affection. Myra, too, noticed her heart lift at the sound of his knock. One rainy evening, the power failed across the neighborhood. Candle in hand, Myra knocked on his door. He welcomed her in with a smile and a blanket. She curled up on his couch, shadows flickering around them. I don't like storms, she admitted softly. Why? He asked. They remind me how fragile life is. One moment you're safe, the next it's gone. For the first time, he looked at her not as a surrogate, but as a woman. I'm sorry, he whispered. For what? For what life has taken from you. She smiled faintly, glassy-eyed. You're kind. The guilt tore through him, because she didn't know who he truly was. The next morning, they shared breakfast. Myra spoke about her small-town childhood, her mother's stew, her long nights in hospitals praying for miracles. He told half-truths about his mother's death, claiming he worked in consulting. The rest, his empire, the contract, he kept buried. He told himself daily, tell her. But fear kept him silent. Then came the slip. Myra wanted to shop for maternity fabric. Darian insisted on sending his driver. She asked the man casually, how long have you worked for Darius? The driver, unaware, answered, I've served Mr. Cole for 6 years. Her heart froze. Darian Cole, the anonymous name on her contract, the man who paid for her mother's care, the faceless benefactor, was her neighbor, the man who had sat across from her every day pretending to be someone else. Myra didn't scream. She didn't rage. She simply packed her belongings in silence, leaving behind a trembling note, I trusted you. Maybe that was my mistake. This child was never meant to belong to a lie. By morning, she was gone. And for the first time in his life, Darian Cole panicked. Darian had faced government raids, billion-dollar negotiations, and lawsuits without flinching. But standing in Myra's empty apartment, the silence crushed him. The breakfast tray he carried, grilled plantains, herbal tea, and a note where he had finally planned to confess, slipped from his hands. Her shoes were gone. Half her closet empty. Even the lavender scent she loved had vanished. On the counter lay her farewell letter, each word cutting deeper than any enemy's betrayal. He dialed his assistant. Leah. Come now. She's gone. Leah Grant arrived minutes later, breathless. Darian explained in clipped tones how his driver had revealed his identity. Leah asked carefully, should we give her space? She's carrying my child, he said coldly. Space isn't safety. I need to know where she is. Within hours, every contact in his network was mobilized. Security footage showed Myra slipping away at dawn with only a small bag, paying her taxi in cash. No credit trail. She had vanished deliberately. For days, Darian shut out business, pacing the nursery she had prepared, haunted by her laughter, by the hope she had brought into his fortress. Then came his lawyer with worse news. The contract you drew up, it hinged on full disclosure. Myra believed she was helping a married couple. If she contests it, the agreement could be void. Darian's jaw tightened. She signed. Yes, the lawyer admitted, but the foundation of her consent is in question. If she challenges, it won't hold. Unless what? Marriage. A civil union would protect both sides. If she agrees to marry you, you gain full legal rights, and she gains security. The case disappears. The word stung like fire on his tongue. Marriage had never been an option. Yet the lawyer was right. Without it, Myra could vanish forever, taking his heir with her. When he finally tracked her down, she agreed to meet at a small cafe. She looked weary, protective hand on her belly. He spoke gently, not as a mogul but as a man. I want to make this right. Marry me, for a year. Before she could answer, her body gave way. The cup slipped from her fingers, and she collapsed. Darian caught her, terror flooding him. When Myra woke, she was in a hospital. Machines beeped softly, the air heavy with antiseptic. Darian sat beside her, shirt wrinkled, eyes red-rimmed. You fainted, he said quietly. Exhaustion. Stress. She turned away. What now? Lock me in your mansion until I give birth. His expression tightened, not with anger, but regret. No, I'm not here to take. I'm here to listen. Tears welled in her eyes. I thought I could separate myself. I thought I could just walk away after delivery. But I can't. I wish I'd never signed that contract. He confessed then, voice low. I chose you because you weren't like the others. You weren't chasing money. You were fighting for someone you loved. I respected that. I should have told you the truth sooner. That's my failure. Silence thickened. Finally, Myra spoke. I'll marry you, but only for protection. For the baby. No romance, no lies. Just a year. Darian swallowed. Done. 4 days later, with no celebration, no witnesses but Leah and lawyers, they became husband and wife. A teal dress, a quiet suit, signatures on paper. Not lovers, not even friends, just two people bound by a child and a fragile agreement. Life in Darian's estate was polished, beautiful, and isolating. Myra lived in a separate wing, marble floors and silk curtains surrounding her. But beauty could not mask loneliness. They ate together occasionally, polite conversations masking the gulf between them. One evening, after a silent dinner, she asked, "Do you regret it? The way this started?" "I regret not telling you the truth," he answered evenly. "But I don't regret you." Her eyes softened. "You confuse me, Darian." He gave a faint smile. "I confuse myself." As weeks passed, subtle shifts occurred. He came home earlier, cancelled meetings, sat in the gardens, phone forgotten, staring at the sky. One night, when she suffered sharp cramps, Myra called him in panic. He rushed barefoot to her room, knelt beside her, and held her trembling hand until the doctor arrived. It was false labor from stress. Yet afterward, Darian stayed near, whispering, "You're not a burden. You never were." Her defenses wavered. She saw how he placed mango slices by her chair, vitamins near her water glass, fresh flowers in the hallway. He didn't announce these gestures, he simply did them. And Myra's edges dulled. Then one afternoon, she stumbled upon his journal in the library. Inside were letters addressed to their unborn child, pages of vulnerability she had never imagined from him. "I don't know what kind of father I'll be, but I know what I won't be. I won't vanish. I won't make you earn my love." Her throat tightened as she read. "I chose your mother because she was real, because she carried love in her voice even when she didn't know me." When he returned, she met him in the garden, journal clutched to her chest. "Why didn't you show me this? I didn't think I had the right." "You still don't," she said softly, "but you're getting close." That night, nothing physical happened. But they lay side by side, her head on his chest, his arm around her gently. It wasn't passion. It was healing. The fortress of Darian Cole was beginning to crumble, not by force, but by trust. Their rhythm shifted again, shared breakfasts that lingered, evening walks in silence that felt whole. Doubt whispered still, but Myra saw him differently. And when she asked what would happen after the baby's birth, his voice shook. "I don't want a business arrangement anymore. I want something real. But I don't know if I deserve it." For the first time, Myra whispered back, "Then earn it." Just as their bond deepened, the past struck. A gossip outlet leaked news of Darian's secret marriage to his surrogate. The internet erupted. Headlines painted Myra as a gold digger, a scandalous cover-up. Old photos and records surfaced, strangers dissecting her life as though they owned it. She found out not from him, but from her friend Tessa Rain, who called in tears, "They are dragging you online. Are you okay?" When Myra confronted Darian, her voice was hollow. "You knew. I tried to contain it. I was going to tell you tonight. But you didn't. Again." She pulled away. "This was supposed to be private. Sacred. Instead, I'm drowning in a story I never wrote." The house turned cold. Darian sat in his study that night, writing in his journal, "Today, I failed your mother. I only hope tomorrow gives me another chance." But Myra's strength surprised him. Instead of leaving, she walked into his office weeks later. "I want to renegotiate our marriage," she said. His chest tightened. "You want a divorce?" "No. I want to stay. Not for obligation, but because I choose to. Despite the lies, despite the chaos, I see the man who writes letters to his child. But I need time. And I want you to own your mistakes publicly." "You'll have it," he said without hesitation. Months later, their son was born. Darian stood beside Myra in the delivery room, holding her hand as she screamed, then wept as their child's cry filled the air. He kissed her forehead without thinking. She whispered through exhaustion, "We did it." Days after, Darian released a public statement. "My wife, Myra, is not a mistake or scandal. She is the woman I love, the mother of my child, and the partner I respect deeply. Our son, Camille Solis Cole, was born healthy and strong. What we have is not a transaction. It is a family." The internet, for once, responded with awe. In time, Myra returned to writing, penning a memoir on healing and second chances. Darian learned to swaddle, to sing lullabies off-key, to whisper apologies when he failed. They moved into the same room not out of necessity, but out of want. The walls came down, brick by brick, until love needed no translation. On their son's naming day, as soft music floated and sunlight spilled across the terrace, a pastor prayed, May this child carry the strength of his father and the heart of his mother. Tears filled both their eyes. A child once born of a contract had become the symbol of something neither had expected: redemption, grace, and a love story that was finally theirs.